Welcome to another episode of Real Estate, Real Life, Real Talk, Real Live with the Real Secrets of Money with your host, myself, Damon the Agent. First of all, I want to thank you all for joining me. Today is Friday, May 9th, 2025. And if you're not following me, please follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Threads, Snapchat, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And I say thank you for joining me today. Now, as always, I like to get into the wonderful world of real estate. So today I'm going to talk about the home buying process. Now, I know many people who bought homes already know this process, but believe it or not, there are many people who still don't know where to begin when it pertains to buying a home. So I want to go over a few things that will help you or just give you a refresher when it pertains to buying a home. Now, the first step when you're looking to buy a home is getting approved for a home loan. That's right, getting approved. Normally, what lenders tend to do is they want to pull your credit. They want to see where your credit score is to give them an indication on that and how much you earn annually about how much home you can actually afford. Now, the typical credit score these days is around the middle score is 640. Everyone has three credit scores. So because everyone has three credit scores, the lenders tend to focus on your middle score. They prefer your middle score to be 640 or higher. Now, there are some lenders who can go down as low as 580, but because they have to go down low, that means it's going to cost you more money as a buyer. You're going to end up paying more for closing costs and everything. And on top of that, you may have a higher interest rate than normally, but they can go down. And so sometimes when you have the cash to offset your credit, you can do so. But for those who can't, they prefer your middle score to be 640 or higher. Now, if you use a traditional bank, such as Bank of America, Wells Fargo, any of those banks, they would prefer your credit score to be between 660 and 680 as the minimum. Normally, the higher institution have a higher criteria when it pertains to lending money. So also, like I mentioned, that most lenders prefer your credit score to be 640 or higher. They also will be reviewing your last 2 years tax returns. And on top of that, they're going to look at your last 3 months bank statements and your last 30 days income, which will include your W-2 if you work for someone. Now, they take all of these into consideration in determining how much home that you can actually afford based off their guidelines. Things today are totally different than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago. So please keep that in mind, because some people who bought a home, let's say in 2005 or 2010, the guidelines have changed. So I just want you to be aware of that. So if you do speak with a lender. Now, on top of that, that's the first step, getting approved for a home loan. After you get approved for a home loan, normally there's a buyer consultation that's normally is given. Sometimes this buyer consultation is given before you get approved, but in many cases, it's definitely given after you get approved. And during the buyer consultation, what is discussed and gone over is basically the whole entire buyer process, which includes the viewing of the homes, the making of the offers, the home inspection, the appraisals, the final walkthrough, the clear to close, settlement day, what's expected and what's to be done. And then, of course, you holding the sign and getting those keys. Now, that's very crucial as far as the buying consultation, so you can have a full and clear understanding of the process from beginning to end. Because buying is an emotional decision for some people, and it can also be overwhelming for a lot of people as well. So when you have this buying consultation, you can ask all the necessary questions, and your real estate professional will go over a lot of things to help you ease your mind and to help you understand the whole entire buying process. Now, based on the buying criteria for your based on each one of you buyers criteria is going to determine the next step, which will be the scheduling and viewing of homes. First of all, a real estate professional will actually give you access to all the homes that come directly from the MLS, not from Zillow, not from Redfin, because those homes that you see on Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, they're actually pulled from the actual MLS. So when a real estate professional gives you direct access to the MLS, that means you have first dibs on homes that come on the market. Like, for example, if a house come on the market right now at 12:06 p.m., you will have access to that compared to Zillow and those other websites. They don't have things in real time. They are delayed. So keep that in mind. So once you get access on the homes that you will see, the criteria, depending on the criteria you provide to the real estate professional, then it was scheduled according to your schedule to go view the homes and then discuss everything from the buyer consultation that I mentioned. Now, these things are very critical and everything when you're buying a home, just so you can understand, because there's a lot to know. There's a lot to know when it pertains to how to make a winning offer. I know a lot of people look at HGTV. I know people look at these things and they think that, oh, this is how you do it. Everything doesn't apply to everything. So some of those things are for television purposes only. Some of those things actually do apply, but your real estate professional will go over what applies, what works, what doesn't work. Everything you see, please take into consideration the professional, because the professional is the one who has been doing it, knows the ins and out. And also, real estate is always based off location, location, location. So what goes on in Texas doesn't necessarily goes on in DC. What goes on in DC doesn't necessarily goes on in Florida, and et cetera, et cetera. So I just want you to have that as a clear understanding and a clear indication when you are also taking these things into consideration when you're making an offer. But always listen to your agent helps the buying process to run a lot smoother. Always asking questions is good for you because you don't know. We're the ones who know. That's why we can't make any assumptions on what we may think you know. That's the reason why I am going over this process now, because like I said, there are many people who bought homes, but there are also many people who never bought a home and they don't know where to begin. So I hope these steps will help you to understand the process and how you should go along when it pertains to purchasing a home, so you have a great and clear understanding. So if you have any questions when it pertains to that, please reach out to me. I'll be right back with my Q&A. All right, all right, all right. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming back. So my Q&A, which is my questions and answer segment. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat so I can answer them, because a lot of you all tend to have the same questions. That's the reason why I do have my Q&A section. And because I found myself repeating myself, answering the same questions over and over again. So a lot of times when you're asking questions, you're not just asking for yourself, you're asking for someone else who may not even, know how to articulate, or not, or maybe who don't even know how to ask the question. So feel free to ask any question when it pertains to real estate so I can answer them and we can all get the knowledge and aware of what's going on in the wonderful world of real estate. So the first question that I have right now is it currently a buyer's market or seller's market? Is it currently a buyer's market or seller's market? That is a great question right there, because everything always turns. What goes up must come down, and what is down must go up. And I always like to say this, and I say this all the time, that when it pertains to the housing market, it is always what's going on the last 3 to 6 months, most preferably the last 3 months. It's just like the seasons. We have spring, summer, fall, and winter. And the same thing occurs in real estate. For example, it's springtime about to go into summertime, but what's going on now is not the same as what was going on in December or even November. So right now, there is a national shift going towards buyers that is occurring right now, because there are a lot of active listings increasing, leading to a bidding war in some areas, but there's also limited inventory in other areas. So that's why it is actually shifting. Now, normally during the summertime, there's a higher demand when it pertains to houses, and when it pertains to houses and when it pertains to buyers who are looking to buy before school start. Right now, we're in May. A lot of people are trying to get settled before the school season start. They want to put their kids in certain zip codes to go to certain schools. So a lot of time, this trend tends to make an increase in activity and an increase as far as demand is concerned. So Right now, like I said, there is a shift because there are some particular areas that are still in high demand that makes it a seller's market. But we're starting to see a national shift towards buyers. So please keep that into consideration. The next question: what does it mean when we are in a buyer's market versus seller's market? What does it mean when we are in a buyer's market versus seller's market? That's also another great question. When we're in a buyer's market, it means the buyers actually have the leverage and control, meaning in many cases, buyers can tend to negotiate the list price and they can tend to ask for a lot of things when they do home inspections and closing costs. They can have a higher request for things in which a lot of sellers sometimes will lean towards the buyer's request and demand, but not all of the time. And with a seller's market, meaning it means the sellers have the leverage when it pertains to the market. So a lot of times sellers don't have to abide by any requests that the buyers are asking because the sellers normally have more offers. They have a higher request and demand, so they take least risk when it pertains to when it's a seller's market. So a seller's market leans towards the seller, a buyer's market leans towards the buyer, and it depends on what's being asked for and requested, because in real estate everything is negotiated, but depending on which market we're in, it determines what can, what will, and what will not be negotiated. So please keep all of that into consideration as well too. But like I said, we are starting to shift, okay? Shift. And that means we're not necessarily in a buyer's market right now, but in certain areas it's still a seller's market. But because of the limited inventory, that makes the demand high. But there's a national shift with active listings increasing. So that basically, and let me summarize it like this: also in a buyer's market, that means there are more houses than there are actually buyers. In a seller's market, it must actually mean there are more buyers than it's actually houses. So those are the ways that you can also tell which market we're in. All right. The next question is, what's today's current interest rate? What is today's current interest rate? That's a good question. As I looked at it this morning, the current interest rate was 6.83%. So that's close to 7. Okay. So the current interest rate is 6.83%. Now, when it pertains to interest rate, I will always recommend and suggest that you speak with a local lender. The reason why I would suggest that you speak with a local lender is because some lenders are very savvy, and some lenders you can actually buy rates down. So even though the interest rate may be whatever the interest rate is, it could be 7%, 8%, 6%, 5%. Some lenders are very, very savvy. If you speak to a well-educated and professional lender, they can tell you what are your options. So whether you're looking to refinance, whether you're looking to buy a home, speaking to a very experienced lender who knows their stuff is very critical to you as well, because they can help you save thousands of dollars. A 0.1% on a mortgage can mean thousands of dollars. So your mortgage can go down, 1% can save you thousands of dollars. So again, speaking with the lender, even though the interest rate, like I mentioned, is 6.83% today, which is close to 7%, if you speak with the right lender, your interest rate might be 5.5. Speak with the wrong lender, your interest rate may be 7.5. It just really depends on you, your situations, your circumstances, your credit score, your income, what's on your credit report. All those things play a factor. So I always like to use it as an example. You ever been looking at TV and you saw a commercial, especially a Discover card commercial, and they always say 0% interest? Or you've been looking at a car and they show that new car to go by and it always say 0% interest. 9 times out of 10, that's not the majority that interest applies to. Those interest rate normally applies to people who have the better credit scores, and that's normally over 700 plus credit score, 750 in some cases even 800 plus credit score. Most people do not have that. So the interest rate that is currently being right now that you see doesn't necessarily mean it would apply to you. That's why you also have to always speak with a lender to see what actually applies to you. Because again, depending on your credit score, your debt to income ratio, and your annual income, everything changes. It's always like your DNA and your palm, the palm of your hand. We all have our own personal DNA and our own personal palm print. So the current interest rate again is 6.83% today, but I just wanted to share all that other vital information that I felt like was critical. So let me check real quick to see if I have any other questions. Hold on for 1 second, please. Just want to check one more platform to see if I have any questions. All right. No more questions right there. So let me be right back. I'll be right back. All right, all right, all right. I am back. So again, I'm going to do the house of the day, the house of the week. I'm sorry. The house of the week. Let's go, y'all. The house of the week. Here we go. All right. Now, the house of the week is also the house of the week last week. This is in Washington, D.C., 138 Danbury Street, Southwest. This is a 3-level townhouse, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, 2-car parking, 1 garage space, 1 reserved space. As you can see, it's a nice house with minor repairs. The seller is also giving a cosmetic repair of $3,500, and also closing costs is an incentive with a great offer price. You have a nice balcony with a nice view. It's centrally located near Navy Yard, National Harbor, the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, downtown DC, Congress Heights area. For someone who's a first-time home buyer or savvy investor who's looking to get an investment property, this is the perfect property. It's in Southwest DC, not too far from the wharf. So if you have any questions pertaining to that property, please reach out to me. All right. I'm going to be back with my topic of the day. All right. I want to thank you for joining me. Please, again, before I talk about my topic of the day, if you are not following me on social media, please follow me on all social media platforms. That includes Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, Threads, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube. All right. Please follow me on all social media platforms. Now, today's topic is about appreciation. I want to talk about appreciation because I feel like so many of us today are not appreciated by your family, friends, co-worker, or whomever. Appreciation goes a long way. I was speaking with someone recently, and they were talking about what was going on in their relationship. And one of the questions that I asked was, have you ever made that person feel valued or appreciated? And their definition was they felt like financially they covered the bills. So because they covered the bills, they felt like, well, I'm doing that. And I said, yes, that's good and understandable, but that's something that's normally expected when you're in a relationship. Meaning, if you flipped it and that person was in your shoes, do you think they would cover the bills if you couldn't? And they were like, yeah. So I said that's a given, because when it's all said and done, when you reflect on things later on in life, you reflect more so on the relationship you had with people, the things you've done, more so than the bills that you pay. You're not going to be remember all the bills that you paid or how much you spent or how much you even earned in some cases, but you're going to remember how a person always made you feel. And a lot of times it feels like that People these days are so focused on self and so focused on finances that they lack to even give the people they're with their flowers. They don't thank them for the effort they made. They don't show them appreciation in anything they do, like little things. Like, I know things are given, but just being a good friend, just being a good parent, just being a good spouse, just being a good coworker. We're never thanked or congratulated, or complimented on a lot of things, but we're quickly criticized on anything. And I say that to say that a lot of times when we look at the people around us, we lack value, we lack appreciation. But everyone wants to feel appreciated, because the more that a person feels appreciated, the more they want to give, the more that they want to do. You don't believe me? Try it. If someone always thanked you and someone always shown you how much they appreciated what you've done for them, you're not going to mind keep doing for them regardless. But when people don't even acknowledge you or show appreciation, sometimes you're not going to want to do anything. Like one of my daughters, for example, I would tell her when people give her rides, always offer gas money. I said, always offer gas money, because it's the thought that counts. I said, give them money, give them gas money, give them $10, $20 for gas money. I said, because after a while, even if the person doesn't take the money from you, they know you appreciated the ride because you offer something. And I say sometimes, even if you need a ride, they're not going to mind coming to get you. But if you never offer, I said, even if they can come get you, sometimes they're not going to want to come get you, because that's their time, that's their effort. And guess what? They have to spend their money on that gas. And I say that to say that it's something like that with us in relationship. We don't nurture the people that we're with. We take advantage of them. And then if they're gone, whether they pass away or whether they get into another relationship or go somewhere else, then we'll be missing. Yeah, sometimes people be critical, but truthfully, they'll be missing the person for what they did, because none of us can be replaced. Nobody can be replaced. I don't care who you are. No twins are the same. They have different characters, different behaviors. Everyone has their own unique characteristic about them. Appreciate them for who they are. Appreciate them while they here. When many people pass away, you always have people who will talk about the memories that they had of that person. It's always the memory, and they are appreciative of the memories that they had with that person. And I say that to say, people, start to love up on your loved ones, love up on your family, love up on your spouses, on your true and good friends, not your fake friends, and you know who they are most of the time, but the people who are generally there for you, the ones who looked out for you when your own family wasn't there for you. Learn to appreciate them, not just on holidays, but on any and every day. Appreciation goes a long way. It goes further than many will actually realize it. But I think a lot of times people don't appreciate the people they have in their life until they're gone. So I say this to say, show appreciation, because the more appreciation that you show, the more rewarding that it will be for you as well too. Appreciation goes a long way. And I do know it was appreciate Nurses Appreciation Week. So I just want to say shout out to all the nurses. We appreciate you for all that you do. I appreciate you because my mother, she's in a nursing home and she got nurses to look out for her. So I appreciate all the nurses. So I just want to shout out appreciation to all the nurses. Now, Mother's Day is coming up. Another way to show appreciation. A lot of times I've heard people complain about, my mother didn't do this. I don't like my mother, blah, blah, blah. I can't stand my mother. My mother could have did better, da, da, da. What you fail to realize is, if it wasn't for your mother, you wouldn't be here. Let me share something with you all, and I've shared this many times. My mother didn't raise me, okay? I was raised by my father, but I value and honor my mother, okay? So I say that to say this, don't let life circumstances hold you back and block your blessings because you want to be mad at your mother. Your mother is the reason why you're here. If you love you and you love yourself, then honor and love your mother. Because what your mother went through, what she didn't do, what she could have did and everything, she did the best that she could based on the circumstances that she was in. And the same will go for you as a parent. Your kid's going to be critical of you. No matter how good you treat them, no matter what you do, it's not going to be enough, because a lot of us have given our kids so much that they are spoiled and entitled brats these days. And a lot of them don't even show appreciation for their parents. So I say this to say that this upcoming Mother's Day, please, if you haven't spoken to your mother in a while, please reach out, because I guarantee your mother will appreciate hearing from their child. And if you are in your mother's life, show your mother appreciation, because again, without your mother, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be alive. I don't care what happened as far as the past is concerned. Your mother is your mother and was given to you as your mother for a reason. Appreciate the fact that that was your mother, because your unique characteristics and behavior, you get some of those from your mother, whether you realize it or not. Even if she was never around, it's called genetics. We can't help it. And I say, show moms appreciation. And all the fellas, please show mom appreciation as well too. You know, mothers deserve a lot of appreciation, because a lot of mothers go through a lot of things. Please show your mother appreciation. This upcoming Sunday is Mother's Day. What a better way to show appreciation than then? And then even when it's not Mother's Day, always show appreciation for your moms, because guess what? That's your moms. So I'll be back with my recap in 1 second, y'all. All right. Again, y'all, before I do this recap, please follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Threads, Snapchat, TikTok, and YouTube, and Pinterest as well. I have so many sometimes, y'all, I can't keep up, but I'm on all of them. Find me /Damon the Agent. And you all know that's also my website, DamonTheAgent.com. So my recap of today is the home buying process. There are certain steps that needs to be taken in order to have an efficient, smooth, and great experience when it pertains to the home buying process. You know, the first step is getting approved for a home loan, and then having the buyer consultation with your real estate professional. After that, everything else will be explained thoroughly, because there's more details to go, but we want to get you to the ultimate goal of so. And then also, I talked about appreciation. Look, when it pertains to appreciation, we all want to feel appreciated. Truth be told, a lot of us are selfish. So because many of us are selfish, we don't show the appreciation like we could or we should, because we think it's all about us. When truthfully, it should be all about the people around you. You know, I know it's hard sometimes, because sometimes you don't want to show people that you care or you concern, but you got one life to live, y'all. When you're gone, what is your legacy? What do people say about you? Hopefully it's something good. So I just want to share all that. I want to thank you all for joining me each and every Friday at 12 noon. Again, I wanted to show my appreciations to all the nurses. It was Nurses Week. And I also want to show my appreciations to mothers. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And thank you all for joining me each and every Friday. You'll have a great weekend, y'all. Thank you.